2. All right. Okay. Good evening, everyone. So, welcome to another episode of the Engineering Leaders podcast series. We're actually bringing together engineering leaders from various fields to actually pick their brain and their experiences on how a young aspiring engineer can succeed and have a exciting career ahead of them. So today we are joined by Wei Ching, okay, who is currently an AI engineer and product manager at DiMuto. Okay, a company which provides AI-powered agri-food trade solutions to help growers, exporters, and importers trade better with visibility and finance. Okay, she has been on interviews on official news platforms such as 早报, CNA 938, where she shares passionately about her journey, from being a social science student to an AI engineer and really sharing her passion for technology and AI. So, interestingly enough, if you don't know about Wei Ching, on top of a full-time role as an engineer, she's actually very passionate about social entrepreneurship, championing meaningful causes such as community building, social equity, and women empowerment, especially in the tech space. So, she's actually the founder of Sustaining Employability of Low-Income Women and Families Initiatives. So, aptly named initiative. I think messed that up, but their mission is really just to help connect opportunities for low income Singaporean women so that they can have better employability and progressive income growth. So on top of that, she actually co-founded AI Space and Tech for She community as a way to empower women to have a much stronger presence in the tech and engineering community and really encourage them that they are really meaningful contributors to the community. So, without further ado, let's welcome Wei Ching here on this show. Welcome Wei Ching.
Hi, Kenny.
Hello.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. I almost ran out of breath, sharing the long list of like achievements and contributions that you have.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, but I'm really, really excited to have you here today to hear about your story and your passion for social entrepreneurship. Yeah, but Wei Ching, to start things off, perhaps maybe you could share a little bit about yourself and what you're currently doing at the moment.
Sure. For myself, I'm very passionate about women empowerment and also poverty reduction. So with these social causes in mind, I was exploring various ways I can make an impact, and one of them being AI and technology, which I'm currently doing now. I'm very excited to see how we can use tech to scale impact and help the masses out there beyond just Singapore, but also globally if possible.
Awesome. Yeah, so but I actually saw your profile and it was very, very interesting because you actually started your journey at SMU actually studying politics, law, and economics, or PLE for short. But you eventually found your way into engineering. So actually I saw that you mentioned that what you studied at at SMU was a lot more theoretical in nature. And you actually really wanted to move into a field where you could deliver a little bit more direct impact, which eventually you found your way into AI. So could you share a little bit more about, the journey? I mean, like why you actually made the switch from where you were to where you are right now, and what was the journey like for you?
Yeah, it was quite a long journey, I would say. I remember at the very start, after taking some Python courses, I told myself I'm not touching tech anymore. This is a whole new world for me. I have no idea what's happening. So I'm gonna do something that I'm more comfortable with. That was my mindset my first 2 years of university. After that, I chanced upon my internship, being able to do a project related to machine learning, and I was like, wow, what kind of technology is this? How can you do miraculous things with a few lines of code? I could figure out what words are there in one image just by using a few lines of code. I was super mind blown. And then I thought that after the internship, I wanted to learn more about this technology, the concepts behind it, like how exactly does it work. And that's what I did. And soon enough, I found myself being very engrossed in how this technology and math algorithms work, and also that how it can be used and applied in everyday lives, how it impacted people. I chanced upon a startup in Africa, which was using AI to measure soil health. And they were able to use computer vision to measure different plots of land. And you know that Africa being so big, they can use AI to very easily understand the whole landscape and identify places where soil health needs to be measured. And I thought that the impact would be so great, reaching out to many, many farmers and help in this poverty reduction, which was also of mine. So like, okay, I'm explore this further. And that's how I took the leap of faith to go into machine learning after I graduate. Yeah.
I see. But was there like a trigger point? Because I believe I'm not sure about you, but was it like suddenly like, okay, this is something that I have to do? Or was it more of like a slow, gradual like transition?
Yeah, it was a slow, gradual thing, I would say. The whole process of learning and a lot of self-doubt as well. Like going into this new field, how would I stand out from the crowd? And myself as a social science graduate, am I sure I can be those individuals who are studying computer science, data science in university? So there was like a whole long process, maybe 1 or 2 years of self-discovery and understanding how I can value add in this new field. What do I exactly like about it? So I would say that it was a lot of reflecting and understanding what keeps me going at night, what makes me want to continue learning. And that was through a lot of thinking, speaking to people and industry people to understand how is it like in the real world, what is data science like, and how myself as someone with a non-tech background could also value add in this field. Yeah.
I see. So, but for yourself, right? Because you also, I mean, like, I believe, like, someone who actually came from a non-tech background, you must have faced quite a lot of challenge, especially because I've been in the position where I also learned like software engineering, and I know how hard it is.
Wow.
I see, because I studied like engineering back in SUTD, so we had like many programming mods. I flunked it all. Like in my class, like I remember like the test, right? It's like I like I remember it was like a coding test. So you have to put in test cases and whatnot. So then I recall a lot of my classmates were like typing furiously, like they know what to type, and I was like there like what should I do? So I spent like at least like a good 10 minutes just changing the variable names and like what is a good name the variable. Yeah, it was so not productive. I flunked. I really did so badly. But yeah, but I understand that there's a lot of challenges, and coming from non-tech background, that learning curve was very steep. So but just curious, like how was the journey like? Like how do you actually really start learning and actually closing the gap that you need? Especially if you're not doing it day in and day out, because you have to study for your politics, law, and economics kind of subjects.
Yeah, so for myself, I did have some time. I spent some time every day trying to learn a bit, and it was quite a structured learning, I would say. I first took up some courses on data camp and did their data science module or whole training course. So they broke it down very structuredly, from learning Python to doing data analysis, how do you do each step of the data science process as well. So that was how I slowly built up my theoretical knowledge. And then after that, I took some projects on personal projects of mine. So I thought about what type of things I'm very interested to find out more and use data science to tackle it. And the good thing about using or doing a personal project is that it can really test your ability and see whether it's something that you are interested in doing beyond just following and learning data science concepts, but can you actually apply it, and do you like this whole exploration phase? So that was part of the process. And after that, I went on to do more courses and certifications in more in-depth areas, like whether it's cloud related or going more into computer vision or NLP specific AI related topics. That was how I built my theory based and application knowledge.
I see. Wow, you really stuck it out through. I imagine it would be very. I mean, probably it would have been a lot of hard work, lah. To do it. So you do this like every single day, is it consistently?
Yeah, more or less. I would set a goal to at least finish a module or so, and
Okay.
then it just feels very accomplished when I can finish
I see.
one or more. And yeah, I would say that learning is a very small component, but actually doing the codes and practices outside of those learning would also be another huge challenge and time factor that you need to spend on. It's not something like you can set 3 hours or so to
Yeah.
finish it, but it's a lot of trial and error because what you learn might not be able to apply just directly, but you need to be able to tailor some of this code into your own use cases. So actually
Mm.
that whole exploration also requires some time and effort to it.
Oh, okay. But do you have like a mentor or like someone to actually accelerate that learning for you?
So at the start, I didn't really have a mentor. It was mostly self-learning. And I think at that phase, it was still all right because I could find a lot of resources online. There are a lot of Medium articles towards data science articles that people broke things down step by steps. And I was able to learn it and see how people apply their techniques to related projects. And that's how I learned how to apply it to my projects. So that was fine. But then I find out that after a while, I reached a learning plateau and I needed to seek external help to be able to move further along in my learning curve. So that was when I did have a mentor, and he was very helpful in helping me even with interview questions and preparation, giving me tips on like which data science areas I should focus on. I was really grateful for that. I think that it's always helpful to have that um, expert out there who has been there, done that, and show you that the world of data science is so much more than whatever you have seen on online courses.
Oh, you speak with a lot of passion for yeah, but wow, I wish I had half of your your passion. Then I wouldn't have like struggled through uni. But yeah, but I mean, I'm just curious also. How do you find how do you actually manage to find the mentor? Was it like through a LinkedIn connection or like through word of
Mm,
mouth? Like you ask around for a mentor or
I guess I was quite lucky because during that time, if I recall correctly, around the COVID phase, when it started, uh, and then I saw a series of mentorship programs by an organization called Advisory Singapore. So they were trying to help youths who were graduating or have graduated to have mentors in the industry so that we can gain more from industry experts and professionals.
okay, I mean, thanks for sharing for those, your passion and whatnot. So, just curious because you have studied social science.
Hmm.
And of course, because I actually interviewed like several engineers before. So there's some engineers that they study engineering but eventually go into roles like management consulting. That there's a lot more non-technical, but they mentioned that having an engineering degree or at least that knowledge actually help in the business side of things. So
Right.
let's say now roles reverse. Now you are in the
Mm.
science background and now doing engineering. So what kind of advantage or perhaps maybe good like things that you actually carry over from social science that actually give you an edge over your peers when it comes to your current stage of your career and work.
Hmm. For myself, I would say it's quite a lot of advantage if you think about data science, it's the amalgamation of a few things and not just pure computer science. So one would be the hard knowledge, computer science, the math algorithms. But another huge part is what we call communication skills that hold domain knowledge, business use cases, which you will need to plug into the computer science and math concepts. And that's how you get data science, right? So data science is really just the application of statistics and math in different business use cases. And coming from more macro and big perspective type of background, I could more easily zoom in and zoom out, like look at the big problem and then how to solve it, and then zoom back out to see whether, okay, is what I do able to solve the big problem. So that helped me a bit. And second part is also the communication with business stakeholders or non-tech stakeholders. So coming from a background of knowing nothing, and even now I would say that I don't have much computer science knowledge, those very, very techie terms. I'm sure you know more than me, Kenny. So for this, I am able to better break down these technical terms into something that the layman can understand. So I would say that these are some of the advantage I see myself as having. Yeah.
Oh, I see. So maybe we could just give an example of, let's say, work. I say your work in maybe home mass previously, or right now how do you actually marry both like data science and the because a lot of times engineering leaders were saying like communication skills is important,
Right.
is important. But I'm just curious, in like, could you elaborate a little bit more specifically on like what kind of like communication skills is required, and perhaps maybe how you actually marry the idea of social science and data science. Maybe you could just give an example in the work that you have done recently or whatnot.
Yeah, sure. So for myself at DiMuto, I'm the only AI engineer in the team. So people in my team would rely on me on AI knowledge and all the AI models, whatever I'm doing. But when I have to illustrate what I've done to my peers who are not AI trained, I will need that sort of communication skills to be able to break things down for them. So I would say, what type of communication skills? I would say more of knowing the business problem and what are some of the needs of these users and how the AI could solve it. And when we talk about this solutioning for AI, it's a lot of focusing on the solution, on the business case, and not so much about going into the technicalities of how this AI works, because this is not as important. The team would trust me on the AI knowledge front, and I will have to just be able to prove that this AI model is able to apply to this business use case.
Oh, okay. So if I have to summarize, it is more towards like you have the technical knowledge, but you also need you need the understanding of the social problems that comes encompassing it. So you're more of like you feel that your skills is more towards like connecting the world of, let's say, the business side and also your technical side, and trying to connect it so that people understand and relate better on the work that you're doing. I see. Yeah, so actually, I mean, that's very interesting, because I think a lot of the engineering leaders that I've interviewed also, I mean, some of them that actually eventually go into like sales engineer, they actually mentioned that it is actually quite important to actually understand the whole business process also. Like, even though you are very technically grounded, but I think the one advantage they can always have is to understand the whole business, so that when you have conversations with, let's say, your superiors, you can actually give a lot more insightful like solutions, not just to solve a technical problem, but more towards like the whole business chain problem. I thought it was quite interesting, because I think was a very underrated skills, instead of focusing on the technical side of stuff. Yeah. So yeah, but I mean, because now you talk about a lot more about social entrepreneurship, and the place you are actually working is like agri-food, which is Also, I think I would say quite social in nature, like it is for a social cause. So and of course you also have a very strong passion when it comes to social entrepreneurship and ground up initiatives, which is actually reflected in the level of involvement in all the things that you've done. So I mean, if the audiences forget, okay, it's actually AI space. Okay. So that's a community that you co-founded, right? Or is it
Yes, that's
founded?
right.
Yeah, co-founded together with a passionate group of developers to connect more AI engineers. Second is the Tech for She. So it's really just an initiative to encourage more women to be part of tech, correct? And the last is actually quite interesting. You are the founder of this organization called Sustaining Employability of Low-Income Women and Families. So in short, is self initiative. So it's
Yes,
I mean it's a
SEL.
wordplay,
Self.
a very very smart wordplay lah. So I'm not sure how am I going to just coin it. Okay, I'll just call it self uh the
Yes.
self-program initiative. Yeah, I think for the
Yeah, sure.
audiences, otherwise the audiences will be very confused. Yeah, but I'm just very curious because you're part of so many of like these organizations. Uh,
Mm.
what actually really motivates you to keep going despite juggling so much commitments on top of your full-time role at DiMuto?
I would say that the end cause or this social cause is the main driver force. Um, at the end of the day, tech is just a tool to be able to achieve those goals that I have. So I keep reminding myself of the impact that the work I do can bring. So that really drives me. And it's of course it's not that I am constantly motivated. I think there's always those down times or times where you feel exhausted of doing so many things. I Besides the social cause, I would say another big factor is the team that I'm working with. Having people alongside you who are also equally passionate, who share the same dream, does rub off that energy in me. And also that I do have people that I can rely on, and it's not that I have to do everything by myself. Yeah, teamwork really helps.
Right. But it's just curious, how do you find your teammates that you are actually working with today? Like through a group of
For
friends or community?
Yeah, so some of the teams that I have, like AI Space, it was actually started by me and my ex-colleague who was also doing data science, but he came from a different background like finance. So both of us had that similar struggles in finding a community of AI learners we can learn from, and it was a very lonely journey of transitioning into AI. And that's how we started building this community also with our fellow peers who have similar journeys. So that's also the similar things that I've done with other organizations. For example, with Self, I'll say all of us have that common passion of how to use tech. So we have people of different skill sets like product management to UI UX design, user researchers. All of us are very keen to see how we can use the skills that we have to do good for the women in Singapore.
I see. So I'm just curious, maybe we could zoom in on the one that you actually founded. So it was the self program ground up initiative. So yeah, but I was just curious, what inspired you to actually start this? Where did it started? Where did the idea come from? And could you share a little bit more about the mission and the work that you have been doing over there?
Yeah, for Self, it didn't started as something that I had in mind. It was a pure coincidence. I was just part of a program where we had to think about different problem statements in Singapore and aligning ourselves with the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, to see what we are passionate about and what we want to tackle. But I found that it was a pure pen and paper exercise, sending in reports about, okay, these are some stats that are happening. And I was like, why do I need to do this? It's a waste of time. And so together with my group, we thought about, okay, let's go and take some action. So that's how we went to speak to different organizations, whether it's non-profits or social enterprises. and to know more about this whole ecosystem, because it's a course that I myself am not familiar with. The people who are beneficiaries of this course is still quite far away from myself. So that's how I got to know, speaking to people in this field. And then I found that the challenges that they face are super great. And at the same time, there's still a gap where technology can play a part, because the social service space, I would say, is still very manpower heavy, manpower dependent. So we wanted to see how we can use tech and the skills that we have to build something for the women out there.
Oh, I see, I see. So, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. So this started off as like a school program, like a pen and paper exercise that, you all thought that you all want to explore it further, or like what kind of
Yeah,
program?
it wasn't a school program per se, but it was a program for youths
Okay.
that I joined. But it was more of a pen and paper exercise.
Yeah, it's like those how you call it? It's like a paper prototype.
Yeah,
It's just
I won't even call it a prototype.
just an idea, like
Yeah.
a simple idea lah. So the I mean that youth program, I mean once you actually, let's say, write down the report, so it's just for people to brainstorm ideas, is it? And submit.
Yes, I would say it's
Oh,
more for youth to gain awareness about what's happening in Singapore, in line with the UN SDGs.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, but I mean, I'm just very curious, because you particularly have a very strong passion for, let's say, women empowerment. So, but I'm just curious, what observations do you see, in Singapore at least, that that really motivated you to actually really help women, in Singapore?
I'd say one big challenge is their identity as female. So that's one big challenge, because females, at least still in today's society, they still have to bear the brunt of taking care of their children and also earning an income and bring the bread home for their families. And this is even make a greater challenge for women who are single mothers or divorced mothers, where they have to play the mom and dad role, and they don't have time for themselves. They have to do everything by themselves, and I can say that they are definitely more busy than me. Yeah, and for them, having to juggle so many things and challenges in their lives, they don't have time to think for themselves. They have to be so resilient for their families, so that they can give their child a better life. I think this whole narrative is very touching for me, and want me to think about my life again. What am I doing? How can I do something for them? Coming from someone who is a more fortunate background, I thought that that's really something that I can do.
So, just very curious as well. Do you see some of these reflections in perhaps maybe the women that you, loved ones that you see in your life, let's say your mom, your aunt, that you see them very hardworking, and you feel that there's a lot of things to be done also.
Yeah, I would say that I do see the women around me having such responsibilities, but I would say the key difference is that low income women out there do have that struggle to survive. So they're not even thinking about, oh, what's the next course I want to learn, what's the next skill I want to upgrade myself, I want to get a better pay. I think these are definitely not in their concerns and on their minds. They're always thinking about, how can I bring the next bowl of rice to the table for my child? How can I survive the next week, the next month? These are very everyday concerns that the women that we work with struggle to have. So I would say that very heart-wrenching stories, I would say, as well, that make me feel that I need to do something about it. Yeah.
Okay. But I mean, if you don't mind, perhaps maybe you could share with us, I mean, the audiences as well, what were some of the very inspiring or like very, heart-wrenching stories that you came across? Because I believe, in your
Mm,
like the initiative, you have spoken to perhaps maybe women who might not be as.
mm.
So what were some of the stories that you have heard that, felt you that burning passion to really help them?
Right. I would refrain from sharing too much about this stuff, heart-wrenching stories, because I would say that they are quite personal. But we maybe reflect about one of the more inspiring story of a mom who's from another country, our neighboring country, and she came over to Singapore without knowing English. So with only her own mother tongue, she managed to survive here, get a job, and I thought it was very inspiring because uh, sharing English through learning from the video every day, picking up the words, writing it down, and then hearing it again. That's how she can speak English. And I would say that, yeah, she's as fluent as I am with English. And I thought that that's very, very inspiring because for her, she's a divorced mom and she doesn't have a husband to rely on. So having to take care of her child through the adolescence and teenage age, it was very difficult for her because she does have to go out and earn money, but at the same time, making sure that her child goes to school. And this was difficult because it was like a vicious cycle where she cannot find a placement for her child in the childcare center, and she's unable to get subsidies for it because she cannot prove that she is currently working but earning too little. So at that time she was unemployed and she cannot apply for such subsidies. So, and then it was through the help of the childcare principal who was very helpful. Say, come leave the child with me. You go and find a job, and once you're able to find a job, come back to me so that we can apply for these subsidies together. And that was, so touching. If we could see how we can tap on community support out there, to make their lives a little better, I think will go a very, very long way.
I see. Wow. But for your initiative, because I'm also very curious. Because I believe you actually help to bridge like opportunities for low income women families to actually have that income, like increment or progressive income, and eventually bridge that gap. So what kind of opportunities are you actually helping to bridge the low income families, and what's your role?
Yeah.
How is your role actually different from perhaps maybe other institutions out there?
Right. So most recently, we have launched a self-talent scout program where we try to find empathetic employers. So employers who can create more flexible working arrangements for mothers who do need such special arrangements. And so oftentimes these moms do have to work around their children's schedule. They can only work during the time when the child is at school, because other than that, they would have to take care of the child. So with these very, very short, limited hours in a day, it can be difficult to find a job. So what we do is to look for and speak to employers and gain their partnership on this course, where they are able to tailor such working arrangements to mothers who do require them. Yeah, so that's one of the initiatives that we're trying to push forward. And so, of course, if you do know of any women or mothers who are in need of such arrangements, they can look for us.
Yeah, I'll definitely put the link of your community. Yeah, but I mean, it's very, very inspiring to hear young people actually championing such initiatives really out of their own goodwill, and their own generosity and abundance. I think really in a world where we are moving very fast, I think a lot more people just need to pause and see how we can pay it forward lah to the people that really needs it. Yeah. So yeah, actually, speaking of like social entrepreneurship and stuff, so I think my friend actually did ask me a question before. So he asked me, Kenny, if you have like $1 billion today, right, what would you actually spend it on? So of course, keep a small part of it for myself, a small part of it. Okay, but I thought about it and I was like, okay, I definitely want to have a big portion of that money gone into charity, but I realized that okay, so there are different like charitable organizations we can go for. So I thought actually the most meaningful and the most or at least the more multiplicative way that we can spread the abundance is actually to sponsor like scholarship programs. So actually I thought about it and I realized that okay, if we can have like more scholarship programs for let's say low income like families, and they take up like say a bursary or scholarship and they are able to fund perhaps maybe their education, then the natural inclination is for them to once they actually earn a good income, pay it forward lah. So it's a way to actually multiply and spread.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, because because I always thought sometimes social entrepreneurship is a very sort of like it can be sometimes a bit narrower in terms of impact, because maybe you're always at the mercy of like fundings and whatnot. But of course, these organizations are important. But I thought that if let's say I really had $1 billion, I think the first thing I'll do is to sponsor a scholarship lah. I mean that's how I think about like social causes lah. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say education goes a long way, and also besides scholarship for like maybe children's tuition fee, I think our way to look at it is also businesses. So sometimes these women, because they are not able to get a job that has rigid working hours, they might start their home-based businesses. And if we can just give them some money and capital that they can start off with, and they are able to grow it, then I think it will also be super helpful and the impact will be great.
That's a very, very great idea. So okay, I'll put it as one of my things to do with $1 billion. Yeah, so okay, you gave me a great idea as well. Yeah, but actually, so I actually read about. I'm not sure whether you read this book before. It's called What Inequality Looks Like. And I found it like wow. Actually, it was quite eye-opening because I didn't know that this part of Singapore that has such huge inequality. So I was like, wow, actually this is something that more Singaporeans should know more about as well. Understanding that actually even living in a very small house, right, has a lot of psychological impact on the child.
Yes.
Especially I think it was more prominent during the COVID period, where actually I was fortunate enough to live in like a comfortable home, but not so much for some of my friends who had live in like 3-room flats, but maybe had 5 people in the house.
Thanks for sharing about that. And in fact, just over last week, Channels News Asia did publish an article and also a video series about how living in public rental flats affect children's mental health. And I think it will be worth a watch.
I see. Yeah. So anyways, but yeah, probably I'll check that out. The link below as well. Okay, yeah, but Wei Ching, I also noticed that you are a very strong advocate for, like I mentioned, women in tech. And you mentioned, I think there should be and could be more involvement in for women to be in tech. So just curious, what do you think is the reason why women sometimes may not get into tech? And what are some of the challenges they face in the workforce that you feel like you need to solve that problem?
I would say that it might also be a women's personal choice to not go into tech or full-fledged technical roles. Or maybe it's just my bias of being women in tech community. I do see that there are women who do have the choices to make of going into tech roles, but it can be that these roles are not very technical inclined. They might prefer to do something that is having a mixture of business and tech. For example, product management, project management, Scrum Master. Yeah, so there's this type of roles. Or maybe they're also pursuing more design-related roles like UI UX design or even user research, digital marketing. I would say all these do still fall into the tech. But perhaps the representation of women in very technical roles like software engineering or even data science might not be as great, right? But at the same time, I would still say it's more of a personal choice. It could be a self-selection where for women, perhaps they do enjoy more interaction with people, that they choose a role where they don't have to face the computer the whole day.
But yeah, but of course, I believe actually because you also mentioned a little bit about really the empowerment. So what do you think can be actually done to actually increase that representation and participation of women in the tech industry? And why do you think that's very important also?
I would say that one of the greatest challenges could be the self-selection sometimes. So for example, there's been a research done that says that in a JD, a woman needs to see that she ticks like 90% of the checkboxes before she applies for the job. Whereas for men, maybe it's like a much lower percentage, like 50%, for example. So this could be a self-selection process where there's more technical roles are something that women shine upon because they don't have that technical capabilities. I would say that we do need to put ourselves out there sometimes, even if we don't meet the cut 100%, to go for such roles and to challenge ourselves. Because at the end of the day, we still do have expertise that we can bring to the table, and in fact can be things other than what's shown on the JD, for example. And as to why it's important to have women representation in tech, I would say it's because if we want to have more tech products that are more women-centric, then we do need women to be part of this whole development process, whether it's come to ideation, to even building the actual tech product. So more women voices would ensure that women's needs can be represented. So for example, if we talk about health tech, if let's say something very simple like wearables, right? If it's something that a man built, maybe they would just take into account like, oh, what's your heart rate? How many calories are you burning? But from a female perspective, maybe they will think about women's health. For example, menstruation would be a key cause and a key health indicator that women will want to track. So I'll say that having more women in the tech and product development will be extremely helpful so that tech can be more female-centric. Yeah.
I see. Yeah, but I mean, just curious as well, because now that you're actually advocating and championing this movement, how will you actually encourage, let's say, a young aspiring female who wants to be in the tech industry, but is a little bit on the fence and too afraid to actually take that leap of faith, or even having a very strong independent voice in that space?
I say that go out there. If you have LinkedIn, go and look at the profiles of the people in the company. Maybe if it's too challenging and intimidating, look for any females in tech roles and then try to approach them. Go and have coffee chats with some of these ladies, get to understand the experiences that they have in that company, in the industry, and to understand the working environment. Because for a company that does support and champions women empowerment in the tech field and diversity, that will go a very long way in encouraging a whole development and growth in the company. So I would say go look for female role models first.
So I guess it will be you. Okay. So as I link her profile, you know who to look for. Your inbox is gonna be very full. Okay, awesome. Yeah, but I'm sure the audiences will also love to know you a little bit more as a person and your journey to where you right now lah, and also some of the lessons you've learned. So as someone who has been through the journey of developing a career in engineering, of course, you also mentioned that there are certain challenges to actually develop and create opportunities for yourself, especially since you didn't come from a technical background. So could you share some of your, some more of your memorable experience along your development journey, and some of the lessons that you have learned?
Yeah, I would say that one of the big lessons that I learned also relates back to your previous question, talking about how we can encourage more females in tech. And one of which was actually an interview that I went for a job. I was so lucky that the interviewer was a female. And during the whole experience, when she was asking me about my experience, I was saying that, I don't really have a professional experience in data science. I don't come from tech background. I was from social science and I picked up AI on the side, blah, blah, blah. So at that time, I was, very hesitant, having very little confidence in myself. And then the hiring manager was telling me, hey, don't put yourself down. I keep talking about what I didn't do, where I didn't come from, but I will need to be proud of these part of my experiences. And in fact, she was telling me that many of the guys that she has interviewed, they can sound very vocal, confident, but what they are saying may not make much sense. But the female that she talked to, me, although I'm speaking very softly and seemingly lack of confidence, what I said had a lot of theoretical knowledge and background behind it. So she encouraged me to talk with more confidence, and that was how it really just melted my heart. And I told myself, yes, actually I have got it. I need to just be a little braver and maybe talk a bit louder.
I see. Well, but I mean, you came a long way, you really seen a lot of confidence in you yourself. I mean, in you right now. But I'm just curious, did you get the job in the end?
Yes, I did.
Oh, nice. Was it Hallmark or a different company?
Yes, it was.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, see, you don't need to be you don't need to start off 100%. That's great. If it was I think if it was in my position, I think they were like, okay, thank you, next. Yeah, but yeah, I had a lot of, I think back in the day, I had a lot of difficulty finding a role in tech. I think mostly because I think I lack of skill sets lah. So I think at least you have the skill sets, but maybe you're not confident. It's I think for me it's I just go in blind. I didn't know anything, so I got caught out lah. So yeah, you're right. I think I was the guy that I know everything, but actually I don't. So probably I got that end of the stick lah. So good for you. Important to have skills, guys. Yeah, just don't fake it.
Don't fluff.
Yeah, don't fluff. Yeah, please. Otherwise you end up in a very terrible situation. Yeah, but of course, through I believe you also had your journey in social entrepreneurship, actually starting some very meaningful ground up initiatives to push forward your mission and vision. And I believe, right, you would have actually had your fair share of challenges whether it be actually managing a team, your outside work commitments, and perhaps maybe the people that you're trying to serve. So share like some experiences, memorable experiences that you learned. I mean, sorry, that you had, and what are some of the lessons you learned along the way?
Yeah, sure. There was actually very big lesson. I won't call it memorable. But I'd say that because I was juggling with many different commitments, it can be easily burnt out. Just charging ahead and not taking care of my health. So at one period of time, I felt that my mental health was taking a toll. I could not feel passionate about what I was doing anymore. I was feeling so exhausted every day. I just didn't want to work. So at that time, I needed a break. I needed to not think about anything. But at the same time, not think about anything just makes me feel that, oh, I still have a mountain of work waiting for me to do. So there was like a whole vicious cycle that I needed to break. And thankfully there was friends out there who just pulled me and say, hey, do you need a break? Or is there something that you can stop doing right now? And to be able to focus on things that matter and not do so much. So that is one of the goals that I'm trying to set for myself this year, to be able to balance these commitments better. How can I focus more on things that really matter and put down those that do not?
Yeah, but actually you brought up a very good point that I've learned recently as well. So it's about saying no,
Yeah.
like saying no to most things is a difficult thing to do, but actually very necessary, because I think with a finite number of time and like energy, I think at the end of the day you would want to channel your energy to where the cause and mission matters the most.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And yeah, but I think saying no is one of the most underrated powerful skills that you can have, especially when it comes to time management. I think, yeah, you're right. Like, when people say no more often, or they learn how to reject things, actually they realize that their quality of life actually improves also.
Yes. And it's something that we need to say more often to be comfortable with it. It can be quite difficult to decline people. Like maybe next time Kenny knock my door and I'll say, no, Kenny, I'm not available. So it can actually be quite difficult to say no, but I would say saying no more often does help you to feel less bad about saying no to others. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but thanks for sharing that as well. So but I'm just curious, when you mentioned about mental health, right? Is it a social cause that you are also very passionate about? Or at least what are your observations with at least the peers around you when it comes to mental health?
I would say it's indirect cause that I'm supporting. So one is on the self SELF cause that I'm working with, where many of these women don't have time to look out for themselves and their emotional feelings, or take a back seat when it comes to survival and earning money. So say that is one area that we are trying to see how we can support them through peer support and community resources. Then on the other hand, it's of course on the more personal front, with the people around me, I would say that mental health is something that I do push for quite a lot. Even for people who are still working, when they fall sick, I'll tell them, don't work. Please take a break. Or if you do have other commitments that are juggling besides your work, like take a break on the other things, so that we do prioritize our not just mental health but physical health as well.
Yep. Then of course, besides the social entrepreneurship that you are doing, you also mentioned that you actually work together or have the community of, let's say, the AI engineer sides of things lah. So I believe within the community, a lot of the younger AI engineers will have certain set of challenges in terms of, let's say, their development or their career. So, what are some of the common struggles and challenges that, young engineers face in the community that you started? And what are some of the advices that you have given so far?
Mm. I would say one of the biggest struggle would be the application of AI and data science. They have learned through courses and apply it to everyday cases. I say why is that such a big challenge? It's because when we learn about AI, often we're stuck in something called the Jupyter Notebook, which is a very easy. I'm sure you know what
Yeah,
Jupyter Notebook is.
yeah,
So for the audience, layman audience out there, Jupyter Notebook is like a notebook itself, where you can just write up code, and get some output, but that cannot be deployed in real life. So a struggle that AI engineers face is the deployment of models. And it's something that I also did learn until my current role, because sometimes in bigger organizations where the work stream is very segregated. So there are people working on data science, then there are people doing ML ops, ML engineering, and then other people doing software engineering. So it can be such that, oh, I just do my part of data science and I passed on my models to my colleagues. So then you might not know how to do the whole deployment, which is also another ballgame altogether, and something that younger engineers will need to pick up the skills on.
Yep. So, and I think continue from that, I believe the audiences will also love to hear some thoughts and about your development and how you actually got to where you are. So, I believe you actually amass quite a number of like technical and non-technical skills through a lot of hard work and perseverance, to have a lot of the opportunities that you have today. So could you share with the audiences, especially with the younger engineers, what were some of the activities you have done to actually develop these skills?
Mm. First and foremost was picking up courses. Second, doing personal projects. Third, doing an internship, or rather, I would say a project which have a real life business use case. It doesn't have to be an internship. It can be also a personal project that you are working on with real data, so not data that you mock up with. Yeah. And then also doing certifications and continuously learning through the whole process. I would say not just in tech, but in AI, it's a journey of learning. Even when you're in the skill, you're in the role, you're still continuously learning. I'll say that is mindset that we will need to have in order to grow further in the role.
And do you have any advices for like young engineers, to create more opportunities for themselves, let's say in the tech space?
So I would say that one would be to collaborate with others on such projects, because approaching such data science problems, there's not one way to do it, but there are a couple of ways, and to be able to discuss ideas, approaches with each other and coming from different angles, that would be very valuable. So if you can do a project with fellow people from different backgrounds, it doesn't have to be someone who is also in data science, but it can be someone with what we call a domain knowledge, and they can share more about their domain expertise and how you can use AI in their domain area. That will also be very helpful in your development and application of AI to the real world case.
Because you actually mentioned a little bit about personal projects, right? So could you share with me like one personal project that you've done that you learned a lot from?
Yeah. So the very first project that I did was actually regarding dramas, because dramas or something that I was so crazy about. And I was thinking, okay, what projects can I work on? What kind of data set that I can have used for this project? So I went to search up and see. And then there were two main areas. One would be a sentiment analysis of drama reviews. So understanding whether what people say is positive or negative based on their reviews. And the second part was a recommender system where you can recommend videos that people would like to watch based on their past watching history. So think about it like YouTube. How does YouTube recommend the next video you? And so that was my second application. So I look at different ways people tackle these topics and try to apply them to the project of mine. And for the data, it's also something that you need to work on. For me, I did scrape some data from the internet with a Python package. Right now, it's very easy to get data with web scraping. So that's also a way.
Yeah, I see. Actually, speaking of like recommendation system, I recently saw Twitter made the recommendation system like open source or something.
Oh,
yeah,
that's interesting. I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, I don't know. I just saw.
Sharing.
You can check it out. I'm not sure whether is it the recommendation system or something that they made it open source. I'm not sure whether I haven't really verified the information, so it could very well be a fake news. But but I don't know. It's just. But I find it very interesting because a lot of things now is quite open source. Let's say even like open.
Yes.
Yeah. Then yeah. I think sometimes open source really does help in terms of collaborative like improvements in like in terms of stuff lah. I think things move much faster.
Yes, because people have already built the foundation and you just have to build on top of that foundation. So it's much easier for laymen like even myself to work on models that people have already built. So that's a plus point.
Yeah, but though of course I think right now we are actually in a very tricky situation. Recession is not easy period for tech personnel and of course engineers. We are seeing a lot of massive layoffs from big companies such as Indeed, Google. And of course there's a lot of uncertainty when it comes to job security. So I mean, now working as an engineer, do you have any advice for, let's say, younger engineers to not only survive the recession, but also really to thrive and even, potentially even get promoted and get pay raises during the period?
I would say one would be to be less choosy of what we want to do. I would say it's a give and take. Maybe we can look out for other opportunities. There are still startups that are growing and there will be opportunities in those spaces. So we might not be able to work in a big fancy company, but we can still gain experiences in smaller companies. And sometimes if that's the only opportunity that we can have, go for it first. Perhaps work for a year or two and build up the skills in that area and then look for exit opportunities when the economy becomes better. I would say that that's something I would do.
Wei Ching, as we wrap up this podcast interview, so do you have any last piece of advice for audiences out there? Especially let's say if you're talking maybe to a young graduate, or let's say even someone like a woman, or a female actually very hesitant about jumping in the tech industry. What kind of advices would you actually give to them?
I would say to stay curious and have an open mind about what's happening around us. Even AI or tech is developing every day. There are new developments. So be curious about what's happening. And we don't have to necessarily dive into AI or tech roles straight away or tell ourselves that we want to do it. Sometimes as we explore these roles, we get to understand that data science, there are so many other related roles that we might be more interested in exploring. So keeping an open mind allows us to be flexible to try out new areas. At the same time, when some of these new areas can be a bit challenging, and we might not feel that it's something that we can tackle. I would say sometimes passion comes only after you have mastered the skill set, and then you feel that you can do well in, do better in, and to be able to contribute to that field. So sometimes you cannot tell yourself that, okay, I'll only go in if I'm passionate about it. But sometimes you just have to try and to learn more as you explore more. Perhaps you will develop the passion as you go along.
Okay. Yeah, so but actually, when you mentioned about the passion, right? I'm not sure. Did you read the book So Good They Can't Ignore You? So was that where you learn about that passion conundrum?
Maybe that book sounds familiar.
Yeah, probably because that was the as in that book that I learned that working for your passion, or at least passion, is a very outdated kind of concepts. Like, you do not work for your passion. Like, it's far better that you get good at something and develop a passion right after. Yeah, which I find it is very fascinating, because I think that is what most people think. It's a very non-contrarian. I mean, it's a very contrarian thing.
Yeah.
But it makes so much sense. Like, I realized when you're young, don't you feel that, let's say your parents tell you you're good at art, then naturally you'll be very passionate, because naturally you feel like
it's self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah. In a way it's not just self-fulfilling, but maybe I believe this is my own head theory, is that in the past, probably we want the attention, and we enjoy the attention given by our, let's say, our parents or whoever, from us people. So a lot of times, whatever they say is how we identify ourselves and evaluate our self-worth. So I think sometimes in life, the passion does not work. As in, you be very passionate about something that you feel you're good at, correct?
Yeah.
Let's say you are very talented in chess, then okay, it feels like I got a knack for chess, then why not I pursue it further lah?
Yes.
Yeah, that was quite interesting. And yeah, but I guess you're right. I think sometimes we just need to get good enough to actually develop that passion. Yeah. So thanks for the reminder. Yeah. So anyways, Wei Ching, as we wrap up this podcast, really, really amazing guest, and really thank you for sharing your passion about what you do. And I mean, hopefully the audiences will also be very inspired, and also likewise also champion your cause by joining your group, or just starting out something on that one. Okay, yeah. So
yes, thank you so much, Kenny.
Yeah, but Wei Ching, how can we connect with you? What's the best way to actually reach out to you, and what are some of the ways we can actually support your cause?
Yeah, so you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Wei Ching Ong, I believe that's my name. Or you can even join the AI community that I started, AI Space, where we have a group of community learners. All of us want to share and exchange knowledge that we have. I think that would be a big platform where you can build your network and resources. Yeah. So I'll encourage you to join us. How you can join us? You can go to our LinkedIn page for AI Space, and you will see a few links to Telegram and Discord channels where you can join those groups. Yeah, and from time to time, we do have in-person meetups. So we'll look forward to seeing you there.
Awesome. Okay, yeah, I'll leave the link down below, and you can join in. It was quite interesting because in the earlier podcast, I believe the third one, actually, I interviewed Sheng. I think was Sheng your actually co-founder, that you're co-founded AI Space together?
Where we also plan for the learning events and workshops together.
Oh, so okay. Interesting. Wow, such a small world. Awesome. Yeah, so anyways, thank you so much, Wei Ching, for actually being part of the guest. And let's wrap up this episode, and hope what she actually has shared with you actually inspires all of you. All right. Okay.